evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater, the largest single-screen drive-in in the United States. We're certainly glad you could be with us this evening, and don't forget the concession stand is open with all kinds of great things to eat and drink.
89.3 Mahoning Drive-In Radio, your old friend Virgil back once again for another exciting episode of the podcast. As you guys know, the only podcast dedicated to the love and revival of our beloved drive-in culture. It's been too long. We're really excited to get back in the saddle. We're in full swing of our 2023 season, and the wave has sucked us up. Joined as always by my co-host and general manager extraordinaire, Mark. Say hello, my friend.
Hello.
And also joined by owner, projectionist extraordinaire, Jeff. Say hello, my friend.
Hi, everybody.
We've been getting the best feedback for this owners series that we've been doing on the podcast, which I've said before is one of the most gratifying decisions that we've ever done here. It's really connected us with the culture and really has given us an inside look on how folks run their business, and we can really look at it with some perspective and see what the differences are, kind of work together to see what works, what we might be able to add as well to the business. But today we are joined by Nick Meyer, owner and operator of the Stardust Drive-In in Chetek, Wisconsin. And my friend, we are so excited to have you on. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Hello, everybody.
Mark connected the dots here. He's really been doing an amazing job with producing the podcast and connecting us to not just local drive-ins, but folks from all over the country and now all over the world. But we did a little bit of research on your place. I wasn't familiar with it. Give us an idea as far as the layout of your drive-in. We saw an aerial. Usually my first question is, are you guys built up? Are you right by a big old city or town? Seems like it's the opposite for you guys.
Yeah, we are really lucky. We have the rural setting. We are along one of our busiest thoroughfares up in northern Wisconsin, which is Highway 53, but it's not that busy up here in northern Wisconsin. But it gives us a good location that people can drive past us.
So you still get the promotion of the local highway, but it's not close enough to give you insane light pollution.
No, it really isn't. You can see all the stars at night when both of my screens are going. So we have two screens. We have kind of a 50s retro feel, and we're nestled being surrounded by like 30 and 40-foot tall pine trees. So you're like really in a deep woods setting watching movies. And it can get kind of spooky coming towards that fall when we start playing spooky movies.
It's an appeal for us as well. We're surrounded by the trees, not half as thick as yours. But I always say it's appealing because when you get to the drive-in lot, it's almost like you're in this safe, enclosed bubble. Like, what's going on beyond those trees? I don't know, and I don't care.
Exactly. People just get taken back into another dimension. And kind of like our mission statement is allow people to forget about their daily lives and just dazzle them with some lights and some good movies.
That's so great. It's the ultimate escape. And, when we formed our team together to save the Mahoning, that's really what it was about. Not just saving the drive-in as a place to come see movies, but to really save an essential community space for the folks who, have been coming there for generations and years. So it's an inherently nostalgic situation when you pull into a drive-in, but your guys' setting does such wonders for that experience. Why don't you give us a little bit of history that you guys run? How long you guys been open?
We are in our 16th season. So just
16 So you
years.
guys are fairly young.
We are really young. I am not the one who built it. I bought it from a brilliant man, Paul Jobner. And he's the one that noticed that our closest drive-in was down in a city called Eau Claire, Wisconsin. It's about 40 minutes south of us. And as most drive-ins, the way of the drive-ins go is when you're in a larger city, developers come in and buy the land. And, you also have that light pollution and so forth. So it just gets to that point where it's not worth it for the operators anymore. And they want to sell because they make more money on selling the land or leasing the land out.
Sure.
So Paul
Right.
saw this coming down the pipeline, and he's like, we're going to need a drive-in movie theater. And for himself, it was what he used to do with his kids on the weekends that he had them, because he came from a blended family. So he got his kids every other week. And so every other weekend when he had them, they would always go to the drive-in. So that was his passion on why he wanted to create it. And he looked for many different parts of land, but our land is probably about 8 inches of topsoil. The rest is sand, and it's a slope that goes down. So
Wow.
we get rain, and it just soaks up and just drains away. So we can play. We don't have to worry about any ruts in our mounds and things of that nature, because it's just a really nice landscape to have a drive-in. You got kind of the stadium seating with the cars because you have that natural slope.
What a dream. So well thought out, well planned from the beginning. And when did you take over? Was it fairly recently, or?
I'm in my 3rd season, so man, have I learned so many things about the drive-in movie
It's a
theater
roller
business.
coaster.
It is
Once you
such
get
a roller
behind the
coaster.
wheel, you really start learning. And I think, again, doing this podcast, we've been kind of, going under Jeff's tutelage. I ran a couple indoor theaters to get the experience, but the greatest gift of these podcasts is being able to hear what works for folks and what they figured out over time, So what was the situation when you took over? Was it just like he was done with it, decided to sell? What was the situation there?
Well, he was getting up in his ages, and this was a hobby for him, so it wasn't really his business. He owned and ran a telecommunications company running coaxial cable for cable and telephone and things of that nature for really small rural towns. Yeah. His wife is older than he is, and she had already retired, and so the late nights were really getting to him, and he just wanted to slow down a little bit. So he was really picky on who he was going to sell to, because he really didn't have to. And he just got to a point where he's like, I need to pass that torch, and I need to find somebody that kind of has my vision to keep it alive.
Yeah. The beautiful thing about you taking it over is not just are you preserving the drive-in culture, but you're truly preserving his life work and his dream as well, and that responsibility of passing that on to somebody is it's a huge one. So what did he see in you? What was the approach? Did you just hit him one day and say, "Hey, I love this drive-in"? How'd that go?
Well, it's funny. I've been searching for a small business for almost 2.5 years, and I come from corporate America, and my 2 wheelhouses is insurance agencies and automotive and diesel technology. Yeah. And so I know, exciting, right? So I was looking at buying an insurance agency or a repair facility, and every time I kept on building the business plans, I was just getting to a point where it was boring. I was like, I don't want to do this.
You're like, this is going to be my life.
Exactly. And I was at my father's place, sitting in his easy chair, and I had a kind of a search engine filter just going out there looking for businesses that pop up that meet my requirements. And I got this ding, and I was like, "Ooh, new business." And I looked at it, and I was actually living out in Portland, Oregon at the time, and it said drive-in movie theater, Northwoods, Wisconsin. And I'm originally from Wisconsin, grew up, born, raised here. And I was like, "What? No way." So signed the NDA, sent over the paperwork, and I was like, "All right, I have to go see this place," because I didn't even know one existed in northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's like this phantom place that, in your old hometown. It's nuts.
Yeah. So I go and I spend a weekend in Chetek, and I never thought I'd ever been to Chetek. And I get to Chetek, and it's a beautiful kind of tourist town in the summertime. We go from 2,500 people to 55,000 people, because all the camping resorts around our 6 chain lakes that we have around here just get filled.
Yes.
So perfect place to have a drive-in.
Totally.
And I'm hanging out, and I go to this restaurant called Red's, and I'm sitting at the bar looking out across the lake, eating my lunch, and I get this deja vu. And I'm like, I feel like I've been here before. and it's bothering me, and I'm just thinking about it and thinking about it, and then it pops to me. I think I was 17 years old. I was heading up to a family's cabin in Winter, Wisconsin, and my brother pulled through this place to meet some girl that he met some other place. And that's where it all came back to me. So I had been to Chetek one time before, had no clue, and I just really fell in love with the town and the people. And then when I went to the drive-in for the first time, he was doing a double feature of Harry Potter 1 and 2, and you should have seen them come out in droves. I can't even remember what was on the second screen. That was on the main big screen, and our big screen is 60 by 30, and he had maybe 200 people here.
Nice.
Wow.
And this was October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clearly viable, clearly a situation where, it wasn't the business and he's selling it to get out because he's not pulling anybody. You showed up and it was actually rocking.
Yeah, and it was a cold fall night in northern Wisconsin. It gets cold up here. So
Yeah.
and people are still coming out in their blankets and eating food like you couldn't believe. And I was like, I can definitely see myself living here.
Yeah. Nothing can stop people once they fall in love with it. And I was even saying to Mark earlier, I was like, is he near a tourist town or whatever the case? Because sometimes being too rural can hurt you where, you're in the middle of nowhere and nobody can get to you. But in your case, kind of like us, we're close to Jim Thorpe, which is a big tourist town. The 6 months that we're open is really the 6 months that, the tourists are flooding that town. So I think there's a natural bleed over with that.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing that we have up in northern Wisconsin, there's not really much to do at night unless you're going to go to a bar and drink, right?
Yeah,
and
the town closes down. Yeah.
Yep. And families don't really have anything else to do besides going roller skating or bowling. And that can get kind of old. So I think it benefits everybody in the community to have a drive-in here. All the businesses benefit by having a drive-in here.
Absolutely. We say the same thing. It feeds the entire town, brings people in, and it becomes an attraction. Those people that come out and have even that vacation experience, next time they come into town, they're going to remember where they went, and spread that love all over the place.
Exactly.
Well, I want to get a little bit of your history. So we know the original owner's love and passion and the connection with his kids and all that. What's your history with drive-ins? Were you lucky enough to have one when you were growing up in, did you grow up in Wisconsin?
I grew up in Wisconsin. I grew up in the capital of Wisconsin, which is Madison, Wisconsin. And we did have a drive-in on the east side of Madison. And I remember my dad taking us there. And I also remember my dad sneaking us in. So,
my mom did that all the time. She'd do the blanket cover whenever it was more than
I always say I'm really good at catching the people breaking the rules because I broke all the rules.
That was me.
And my dad had this old Ford van that he turned into a conversion van. It used to be an old bread truck for an old company called Gardner's Bakery.
Yeah.
And he turned it into a conversion van. He had a little spot where he could hide us underneath. And we go park in that back row, and my brother and I would take out our Superman sleeping bags and throw them on the top of the van. Yes. And we'd sit on top of the van and we would just watch every movie. And that's what we did on the weekends. We'd go to the drive-in, sit on top of the van, eat our popcorn, drink our soda, eat our candy, and just be taken away.
Yeah, it's something that burrows into your heart so hard when you experience it as a kid. It's one of those things that's almost indescribable. I kind of know what the answer is going to be, but we ask people if they remember any of the movies that they see there or have seen as a kid. And, 9 times out of 10, it's more the experiences than the actual films. But anything pop up for you?
I mean, I couldn't tell you the exact. I have a feeling of what I saw, but I couldn't tell you. I believe we probably saw Superman because my brother and I love Superman. And Gremlins. Those are the two that really kind of like sparked my brain, but I'm not 100%. I just remember going there and having a good time. I remember popcorn and candy mostly.
That's the draw. It's like, look, if I see the dancing hot dog, that's fine, but I want to eat some hot dogs.
Exactly.
Well, why don't you tell us some of the cool things that you guys offer? Even just checking out your setup on the website, it's kind of mind-boggling. There's a lot of things that are unique to you guys in what you offer. You know what? I'm just going to toss it out there. So, renting radios is pretty much a norm in the drive-in culture. Renting chairs, that's something a little different. What's the word there?
So we have people that come in on their motorcycles, and we're rural enough that we have people that come in on their horses.
Stop.
Wow.
Yes, we have people that come in our horses. I have a picket line set up so they can tie off their horses.
Stop, dude. That's so cool.
they'll rent chairs and a radio and go sit down. And we have in Wisconsin, we have a very big Harley culture up here. So we'll have motorcycle clubs come and watch a movie. And so they'll rent some chairs. But in addition to renting chairs, we have an elevated pavilion where people can go and sit and eat their food, and it's covered, and they can watch on screen one. So it's kind of back in the
away. So it's only on one screen, right?
Correct. Right now on one
your
screen.
Front row. Your front row is pretty much a covered row, right?
Well, no, it's in the back. So it's above our concession stand where our projection room is located. And so it is raised up above. So the line for the concession stand is below it. And up above it is our seating area. So it's great view, and you're up high. So you have an awesome vantage point of the screen. Now, our front row is really cool because I'm not sure how many drive-in movie theaters have king size lounge chairs.
This is what I saw. Yes.
Yeah. So these are slightly elevated off the ground by about a foot. They're about the size of a king bed with an angled back, and people will throw their air mattresses on them. They'll throw their pillows, blankets, sleeping bags, and that is our front row. And I believe, not off the top of my head, I think screen 2 has 5 and screen 1 has 7 of these. And they're just first come, first serve. We don't rent them. It's just like, you get there soon enough, you want it, go ahead and grab it. And people will put out their radios out there, and like everybody will go and get a radio. So now it's kind of like you have this sound machine out there just projecting back, almost like it's an indoor theater.
Yeah. God, that is unique. So what are they made of?
Like a decking material. So they're decking planks. Just, if you were to make a wood deck, that's exactly what they're made out of.
So cool. Is that an addition from you, or was that the original owner?
That was the original owner. And I love them because I go out and collect all the quarters that fall out of people's pockets.
You're like, that's my tips each night.
Exactly. It's also how I get the crew members to go and clean the lot. I'm like, any money that you find is yours.
That's right. Yeah. That is too cool. What's the size difference between your screens, I guess, as far as the amount of people that you hold?
Well, what's really nice is that screen 2 can overflow into screen 1, and screen 1 can overflow into screen 2. And that's kind of how we have it. So for a prime example, last weekend, we had Fast X and Super Mario Brothers on screen 1.
Yeah.
And we put Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man on screen 2. Well, who would have thought that Guardians of the Galaxy was still going to bring in more people than a new release of Fast 10?
Yeah.
So we basically started overflowing our screen 2 into our screen 1. Our total lot can hold about 325 cars.
Yeah.
So, and that's if we have our lot attendants parking people, because we know some people just don't know how to park. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
So when you fill in, do you fill in from the front and just work back for that reason alone, that if you get filled on one side, you kind of start moving back into the other?
Well, we live in the Northwoods, and it seems everybody here has a truck that's 10 foot tall.
Of course.
So it's usually the middle and the back gets filled first, and then we hope that some smaller cars come in so we can fill in the front. That's usually how it goes. But sometimes our front row will have 2 cars up there because everybody has crossovers or SUVs or big trucks.
Yeah.
Man. It's just, I love hearing the difference in the cultures, where I wouldn't even have thought of that with the motorcycles for the chairs. It's like, duh, of course. It's at some point it became a necessity for him, and he was like, I got to get some chairs up in here.
Yep.
All right, so shifting a little bit to your concession lobby, which again, even as a kid, it's all our favorite part. Insane menu. The stuff that you guys offer, it runs so much deeper than your traditional drive-in fare, which is your basic hot dogs, cheeseburgers, fries. Why don't you give people a little rundown of some of the choice items that might surprise people that you offer?
Well, this might not be surprising, but we are in Wisconsin, the land of cheese. So we definitely have some premium deep fried cheese curds that everybody loves.
Steal my heart, yes.
Right. And then, if you like that salty part, well, then you have to go for them deep fried pickles because they just kind of go hand in hand, right?
Naturally. Yeah.
But what I find that most people are really surprised about is that in Wisconsin, fish fries on Friday nights are just a huge deal. And to go out to like a supper club and do a fish fry, you're usually waiting for anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour and a half if you don't get there early.
Wow.
Well, we do that, but we offer our fish fry every night that we're open. And we offer cod, and then our premium fish is our bluegill. And we offer basically about a half pound of bluegill to our customers for just about $10, which if you were to go to a supper, if you go to a supper club, that's like an $18 meal right there. So
unreal. Again, a sign of the culture where it's like, I don't think in all the interviews we've done, anybody's been preparing and offering fish, but again, connected with the culture, it makes total sense.
Exactly. So we have people that come out, and we are the restaurant that is open the latest. Everybody around here shuts their restaurant around about 9 or 10 o'clock, and we serve our entire menu all the way through our intermission. And once the second movie starts, we will still serve as long as we have a line. If that line just keeps going, we keep on serving. So we actually have people that are leaving bars in town that will call in and get a to-go order of usually fish or cheese curds or French fries or our fluffy funnel cakes.
So good. Now, is the access to your concession stand easy enough that people can just come off the road and then go?
Yeah, so they'll just come right off the marquee and they come down to the ticket booth, and the ticket booth is right next to the concession stand, which makes it easy because we don't have to have somebody in the ticket booth 24/7, right? We can have our griller just pop in and sell a ticket if somebody comes in. And
that's so perfect.
We just have people call in, they usually order, and we have a spot on our row 8 for screen 1 that they can park their car and then come get their food, and then we kind of monitor how long they stay for,
So good. Mark, we were going over some of the choice menu items. This is Mark's favorite part of the podcast because
I say this every time. I haven't eaten yet when we record these. We record these right around what would be my dinner time. So we always get to the snack bar part, and I'm just like, oh,
I want that pickle.
And I want it all. So yeah, I saw a couple things that I thought were unique to what I usually see at drive-ins. I see that you have bratwurst.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Pickle on a stick, which is similar to the deep fried pickle, and then the thing that got me, there were 2 items. One is, could you explain to me the bloody Smurf?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, the pickle on a stick is not the deep fry because it's just a super large pickle on a stick. It's just, we pull it out of the jar, we shove a stick in it, and then people eat it off the stick.
There's no false advertising there whatsoever.
Nope.
You want a pickle, you want a stick, pickle on a stick.
A stick. That's what you're going to get. The bloody Smurf. All right. So this is a concoction that the crew that Paul had previous to me, they've come up with some of these things. And what it is blended Mountain Dew in ice with cherry syrup and blueberry syrup. So we basically blend the Mountain Dew and the blueberry syrup together, put that in a cup, and then we drizzle the cherry syrup around the outside, so you get this blue slushy with this red ring around it, and that's a bloody Smurf. And then if you want to put it in a snow bake, we'll put a scoop of ice cream in there for you.
Just reading the words bloody Smurf in a snowbank, it filled me with glee.
You're doing it right, my friend. You're doing it right.
We're in the north woods of Wisconsin. We get a lot of snow. I think this last winter we got about 5 to 6 feet of snow here.
Wow. I see that you have various forms. You're going to know where I'm going with this. You have various forms of coffee drinks and blended coffee drinks. and there is something called a crappuccino.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want a crappuccino, what we'll do is we'll give you half coffee and half cappuccino. So it's just kind of a crappy cappuccino. It just gives you a little more octane.
Yes.
So
for
good.
those late nights, it makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. The kids are watching their movie and the parents are like, oh man, I got to drive home. Let me go get a crappuccino.
Perfect.
You gotta have fun in your stand, man. You're doing it right, What's your layout like in the stand? It sounds like you got some space.
Yeah, we sit on 20 acres and we're probably using a third of that for everything. Our screen one, which is 30 by 60 roughly, is down on the far south side of it. And then on the flip of that, so if you turn around backwards, you'll be able to see screen 2. And that is, I think, a 30 by 15 screen. And then smack dab in the middle of it is our concession stand, our outdoor grill area. So we don't fry or cook any of our burgers inside. We're the only Wisconsin approved outdoor restaurant.
Wow.
And which helps on keeping all the grease out of the concession stand. And so we can keep it very clean and neat. And then our ticket booth is right off of the grill area again. So everything is very centrally located. I just this season moved my arcade, which was housed down in screen 1. I have a whole building that is basically below that. It's 60 by 30 itself.
Oh,
and
nice.
about 18 foot tall for storage of things of that nature. And I had an arcade down there, but it made no sense to me with how wages have gone up, to pay somebody to sit there and babysit kids playing video games.
Right.
In addition to that, they're all walking away from the concession stand, and that's where I don't want them to go. So I just turned the pavilion into my new arcade, which we called it Orbit Room. So I just had all the arcades put up there just this week. So that was a lot of work. So I'm excited to have the arcade up there right now.
It's like you got a whole vibe going there, not just your traditional drive-in fare, but you're really pushing the envelope with knowing your audience, giving customers what they want, catering to them. It's ideal, What did you say the original owner's name was?
Paul Jobner.
He did the right thing, I think, passing it on to you, because it's clear that you're thinking about these things and you're really all about the experience for people.
Absolutely. I mean, even to the point that I upgraded our network here, and so now the whole 20 acres has Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Being in a rural setting and being able to get high-speed internet, and I have fiber coming to it, so I have 500 up and 500 down.
Nice. It's a shock for people,
It is.
So let's get down to some of the basics. If somebody's coming to see a movie at your place, carload per person, how do you roll?
Well, we roll a couple different ways. So on our premium nights, which are Fridays and Saturdays, it's per person. All right. And so adults are going to have a modest $8.50 for their ticket. And, well, I shouldn't say adults, right? Let's just call it general admission because it's 13 and on up, right? And then our 12 to 3-year-olds, that's going to be $6.50, and then 2 and under are free. Now, on Thursdays, we do $5 nights. So one low price for everybody, just a $5 ticket. And on Sundays, we call it our Family Fun Day Sunday, and we do a carload for just $16.50.
Come on. I love it. That's the hard part. We get a lot of folks who come to us because they just truly can't afford to take their kids to an indoor situation. It's just too expensive.
Exactly.
So to have that option that kind of breaks down over your, multiple different fan bases, depending on where they're lying financially, is really a gift.
And it's one of the things. I mean, I could definitely increase my food prices because I am priced below most of the restaurants in the area, and being that we don't allow any outside food or beverage. And the reason why I switched to a Thursday $5 and a Sunday carload is that we really can't handle our customer loads on Fridays and Saturdays. We get through it, but it takes us a long time. We're a very small restaurant. And when you think about it, on a busy Saturday night, we might have 120 cars, which equates to maybe 350, 400 people that we got to feed in less than 2.5 hours before the movie starts.
Yeah.
And we open our gates at 6:30. Peak of the summer, we're playing those movies at 9:30. So having these really specials, I'm hoping that the more budget-minded people will go and spread to the Thursdays and Friday or on Sundays and lower our lines through our Fridays and Saturdays.
So smart. It's so smart. I love the thought process put out through it. It's not just I'm going to stick with one thing and the audience can deal with it. It really is all right, let's find ways to make this appealing for anybody on any night of the week. So you said what, you're a 5-day outfit, 4-day outfit or 5-day?
During our pre and post peak season, we're 2. We just do Fridays and Saturdays. And then between Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend, we'll go to 4 days, Thursdays through Sundays. Now,
Nice.
I know that we have the draw that we could probably go 7 days a week, but it's finding the crew that can do that. I definitely don't want to work 7 days a week.
We feel that. I mean, every night is a huge event at the drive-in.
Exactly.
It's nice to have a day or two.
Correct. So, I'm really blessed that this season I have which I believe to be a very solid crew, and I think they'll come back next season. And if I can get 3 of this solid crew to come back next season, and I don't have to train them completely over, I think we would be able to go 7 days a week come our peak season, because they'll be able to run it, and I won't need to hold everybody's hand. And that's probably the hardest part, is how many hats we have to wear as being an owner, operator, general manager, projectionist.
It's never ending. What goes into managing the business is one thing, but all the other hats that you have to wear, it's never ending.
the handyman, the IT guy, the HR person,
whatever comes up out there cutting the grass.
We put in 8-10 hours before we put in our 8-10 hours.
That's right. It's always on. That's the thing I always say to the guys is like, I'll talk to you in another 20 minutes when you leave. It's like, it's never not talking about the drive-in or figuring out what we're going to do. And then you throw the social media on top of that. Come on.
Oh my goodness. What a steep learning curve that was.
That, I think, we give a lot of credit to, what we do here with 35 millimeter, the retro programming, the atmosphere, all that. But the fact that, we really hit when social media became very social, social for lack of a better word. Everybody was seeing it. Everybody was able to share it. It just got out there and became this thing that people wanted to do. That's when we saw the big boom. For you, was it like he handed over the social medias, or did you have to start everything from scratch?
No, he did a really good job of building his social media account, mostly on Facebook and then a couple other little parts. But he spent most of his time on Facebook building his followers.
Yeah.
And he actually has 2 separate Facebook pages. And Facebook has not allowed me to merge those 2 pages together. And I think it's because they get ad revenue because I boost on both of my...
Oh, they won't let you out.
Oh no, I've tried and made calls and emails, and they just won't do it. They look identically the same. They don't even let me change the name. So one has a hyphen in the drive-in, and the other one doesn't have the hyphen in the drive-in. One has roughly 15,000 followers. The other one has roughly 10,000 followers. And
so they're literally like neck and neck, where it's like, which is the real page? Well, I guess they're both the real page.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of tedious managing 2 Facebook pages, but I really just put my movie listings on there and our events, so it's not hard. But it does cost me double when I want to boost stuff. So,
totally. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So and typically I will boost on both because there is probably maybe a 30% overlap where people like both of the pages. But there's some people that don't know. They like one page, they don't like the other page. So if I want to reach everybody out there, I got to put my boost on both of them. So
that's right. It's all a game.
It is, and people say, well, just delete that one. And I'm like, I don't want to delete it. There's
That's
10,000
10,000
people.
fans. Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. But we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe Facebook will allow me to do it sometime. You never know. They're always changing.
That's right. It's true. We used to have so much heat on the events, and the event pages used to have people chatting back and forth. I think that's become like a thing of the past. It's the event pages are very much like a marker for people to throw into their calendar. It's not like a chat board like it used to be, you know?
Yeah, I concur with you on that one.
Yeah.
And we saw a drop off too in the number of people who would respond that they were going to an event, because before we did, COVID brought us online ticket sales, which is now how we gauge how well we're going to do for a weekend potentially. But before that, it was people responding to a Facebook event saying going or interested. And we would look at that and go, okay, this is going to be a big show. But it seems like people have fallen out of the habit of doing that.
Yeah, that's, I don't think, a thing anymore. But that's just like, these weird trends that I think all these different, so it's like you lose track of it after a while. But so being such drive-in fans, a staple besides that concession stand, that beautiful screen, what's your marquee situation? You have anything by the road pulling people in that's a choice for you guys?
I have a standard retro marquee with a nice big arrow with flashing lights and the letter board underneath it that we switch out our movies on, and that's right at the entrance. And then our main access point is County Road Double S, which goes onto County Road Double O, which kind of makes it fun. Take a left at Double O from Double S on the radios. It just sounds kind of fun. And I have another arrow flashing board out there, which when I took over, it would just be dark because there was no power out there. You're in the middle of nowhere. So people could only see it in the daytime. Well, my dad is an electrician and we love doing projects together. So we actually converted that board from 120 volt down to 12 volt. And we put up some solar panels and a battery.
Nice.
And 2 digital timers so that I can have it turn on and turn off without have to monitor it. And so now it's just a set and forget it out there. I pull
Ingenuity,
it out there,
baby.
I pull it out there in the spring, set it up, make sure all the timers are correct, and when we start going and increasing our days, I just have to go out there and turn on the program so it can start flashing at people. And I have a couple signs around town and stuff, and then I have a huge bobber. Some people say it's the world's largest bobber, but Guinness Book wants too much money for me to put it in there. And that grabs people's eyes off of 53. But they're traveling on 53. The speed limit is 70. So
By bobber, do you mean fishing bobber?
Yeah, like a fishing bobber. It is roughly 10 feet in diameter and about 7.5 feet tall.
So like roadside attraction style?
Exactly.
Oh, that's
exactly. To draw your eyes there. But I sometimes think that people just see the bobber and they totally miss the Stardust sign. So
they're like,
was that a bobber?
Yeah, that'll throw you off. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's one of our projects moving into the future is upgrading our sign out there on Highway 53 that people can see and just know that it's a drive-in. I don't even care if they know that it's Stardust Drive-In, as long as they know we have a drive-in when they pass by.
Yeah, sure. It's amazing, the support that you're getting. I'm a big lover of drive-in history, and I know at a certain point you guys were pushing about 80 drive-ins in the state. What are you guys down to? About 10 now? A little less than 10?
I think so. A little less than 10. I just saw a post of all the drive-ins going on there, and I think it was somewhere like around 8 or 9 of the drive-ins that were opening up. And the closest drive-in to us right now is about 2.5 hours.
Wow. So you're literally in an island on your own. I love hearing about not just the local drive-ins around you, but just the cinematic landscape in general. Do you guys have many other options for people to go see films, whether indoor or otherwise?
We do have a few indoors. So there's a town about 15 minutes north, which is Rice Lake. They have an indoor theater and they have 7 screens there. Yeah. And then again, 40 minutes south, we have 2 indoor movie theaters. One is used to be, I think, an AMC, but they sold it to a place called, I think, Micro Theaters. And so that's inside the mall, your typical theater mall part. And they have, I think, maybe 10 screens there.
Wow.
And they have a small boutique indoor theater that has, I think, 7 or 8 screens, and they actually have a beer license, so you can go in there and get yourself a beer and snacks.
Nice. So you totally threw the segue in there for me. Looking through your menu, you also have an adult menu. And this includes obviously your beer, your wine. But what I was shocked to see is that you can sell, it looks like cases. So folks, what, can just grab and go?
Yeah, so in the state of Wisconsin, you can apply for what they call a Class B liquor license and a Class B beer license. And when you apply for that, you're allowed to sell for on-premise and off-premise drinking. So it allows people to come up to our window, and we have a single window just for alcohol sales. It cuts down on lines, and people don't want to wait a long time to have their drink, but a lot of people don't want to keep on coming back and up. And when you have large families coming out, they might want to get a 6-pack or a 12-pack of their favorite beer, or a 4-pack of cocktails, and they can just take them back to the car, and whatever they don't drink, they can take home with them.
It's amazing.
So it makes it
That's next level. That's next level. Yeah. You know, being in the indoor situation and working for the biggest, indoor companies, I know it. You can't open a movie theater without a liquor license. So you kind of get best of both worlds without having to tackle a full-on liquor license.
Absolutely. And so we don't make mixed drinks here because we just don't have time to have a bartender that's going to make you a Jack and Coke. And in Wisconsin, we do brandy old-fashioned sweet. That's what people like in Wisconsin. That's their primo drink that most people drink.
Yeah.
Oh, well, now with the distributors, we can get those in a can. So a 12-ounce can of brandy old-fashioned sweet is basically 2 drinks. We give them a glass of ice, and they get 2 drinks for, I think it's like $5.25 or maybe $5.75. You can't go to a bar. That's what you pay for 1 drink at a bar.
You cannot beat that.
Nope. And we do Moscow mules, and we do margaritas and things of that nature.
What a draw. Like, literally, I'm so excited to come and visit and hang out. It just sounds like a wonderland, Mark just sent me a picture, by the way, of the bobber. This thing looks like a spaceship next to your. It's a nice appeal. It almost feels like, hey, come into another world to drive in.
Well, we do have a spaceship next to our marquee, which is yellow.
Oh, that's not the bobber. That is an actual spaceship.
That's an actual spaceship. If it's yellow, that's our spaceship. It has an alien head on it. Oh my God,
it's so cool.
And it lights up at night. I wrap some LED lights around it, so it lights up and moves around. The bobber actually looks like a bobber. It's red and white. You can't miss it. That's on Highway 53. That's an actual bobber. I'll go take a picture for you guys and send it out to you, and have somebody stand next to it for size comparison, because it's quite.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what's the story with the UFO with the spaceship? When did that?
Well, so that's kind of our theme, right? So it's Stardust. So everything is dealing with a star. So we have our flying saucer with our alien on it. Yeah. The old ticket booth, which is at the entrance, not really the main, is actually when you get into like the parking lot area, was a rocket ship. So we have a rocket ship. And then we also have a playground that has a satellite that kids can climb into on the playground equipment. And so it's kind of that kind of like 50s style retro kind of era, and that's what we try to stay with.
That's the way to play it,
So like our arcade is the Orbit Room, and that's our kids arcade, and I'm building an adult arcade. So with which a lot of people don't know in the state of Wisconsin is that with a Class B liquor license, you're allowed up to 5 gambling machines, poker machines. And so, I figured every bar in the state of Wisconsin has 5 poker machines in them, because that's your limit that you can have.
Yeah.
Now, we have a lot of people come up from Illinois and Minnesota that they're not really allowed to have those types of machines, or they have to go someplace special for it. So imagine a family's coming in, and the dad or mom are going to go see this kids movie that they really have no interest in watching.
Yeah.
They can park the kids in the car, and then they can go and grab themselves a beverage and go enjoy themselves, do a little bit of gambling.
Amazing. Amazing. These are the things that just blow my mind. It's wouldn't be an option for us, but because of the perfect, situation that you have there, it lends itself to it perfectly.
Well, as you guys know, our profit margins are really thin. So trying to find any way that you can increase your profits and squeeze as much out of this area that you can, you have to. Otherwise, we're not going to have drive-ins in business any longer.
That's right. You're pushing the envelope, It's not like you're comfortable kind of settling into what's going to be the easiest groove for you. You're really into, offering the max and getting the max out of what you guys have. I just love the fact that we all share the same layout in a screen, a building, an entry booth, and that's it. And the differences between all of our businesses is staggering. We're all rocking with the same format, but have all found a way to, lean into it with what works for us.
Absolutely.
It's inspiring. It really is. So obviously, when you came into things fully digital, do you know if at a certain point, you said how many years has you guys been open? 16?
Yeah, this is our 16th year.
So you would have had 35 at a certain point.
Yeah, so Paul had 35 just when he only had one screen.
Yeah.
Shipping the film. There's still a mirror on the ceiling in that room. That room and now is a storage room. Another room was built where we hold the projection equipment and our networking stuff. But yeah, he was running film. I still actually have the film table where you can
the rewinder and all that.
The rewinder and the splicer. Yep, I still have that film table down in Screen One storage. I don't know why I still have it. I should probably sell it.
Well, no, hey, piece of nostalgia.
I know.
So we since we're running 35 millimeter, we always try to deliver retro classic trailers beforehand. And obviously a big part of the built-in culture and appeal is that intermission reel. Do you guys have any kind of choice snipes that you go to or advertisements that you lean into?
Yeah, so we have all of our retro advertisements that have been converted into digital. It basically splices a few together, so you do see kind of the same thing but differently, and we put those on both of our screen. But yeah, we'll never go away from that. I'm looking at getting some more updated old classic stuff, maybe some like old stuff to kind of throw in there. This stuff is probably from the 60s, mid 60s area, some of that nature. I'd like to get back to maybe some early 50s intermission reels and stuff like that. So
well, we could always connect you with Filmac. He has all. I think he digitally transferred all of his library, and that's kind of his mode now. So
I would love that.
He'll sell you the whole
that.
pack. Totally.
Please do.
Connect the dots.
I think that's been the biggest struggle is me not coming from the industry, never working in the movie theater business whatsoever, and just not having that network of people to reach out to.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of this podcast and really what we're trying to do with this initiative is it connects us all. The Udito is one thing, going to meet once a year, but the idea of us actually connecting on a human level and, inspiring each other on our businesses, that's kind of the point of, what the Uditoa is. And we're kind of doing that, in a side skirt type of way, but it's almost more beneficial and personal, to be able to offer that help to somebody who might need it or connect that dot to somebody who might need it. I'm curious, you mentioned the social medias. We always like to give folks the opportunity to let fans know where they can go and follow you, see what you're doing. Do you want to give a quick plug as far as the website, the socials? Got any other things like that?
Yeah. So we use our website and our Facebook mostly, and our website is stardustdrivein.theater.com. And then our Facebook is Stardust Drive-In Theater. I mean, you look at it now, it is kind of funny because there is a Stardust down in Tennessee, and they do online ticket sales. So every once in a while, we have somebody come up and they're like, I bought my ticket online. And we're like, you got a long way to go. Drive down to Tennessee.
You're like, start driving now. And
you might get there. You might get there.
That's wild. Yeah, the Stardust, the Starlight, the Skyline. There's a lot of shared names across the landscape, but
absolutely,
you cannot mistake your Stardust. I don't know of any other drive-in that has an alien UFO right next to their marquee. That's the coolest thing I may have ever seen. Mark sent me the rocket ship, by the way.
Okay.
Too cool, man. Like it's just such a vibe that you got going there. I love
Yeah,
it.
I have plans on putting a smoke machine inside of it and pushing it down below as people start coming in.
Dude, yes.
It's because like again, we want to make it the experience. I call it the customer experience multiplier. The things that we can do that will ingrain in them that nostalgia feeling that so when they get older, they bring their kids back to it. And they're like, I remember when I came in and that rocket ship was smoking and they have the glow in the dark eyes out in the woods during the spooky movies, things of that nature.
Come on. Yeah, you're doing it right, my friend. And we know it. It's not the movies that people are going to remember. It's those experiences that are going to burrow, and you're doing a hella job.
Well,
I want to
thank you.
give the guys an opportunity to pick your brain if they got anything. Jeff, you got anything for our main man, Nick?
No, I think you and Mark did a great job with the interview. The only thing I can add is I keep picturing my head what Paul Jobner must have had to do to clear all those trees out of there just to build that place.
You are absolutely correct. So I have photos of them clearing the trees and having these huge brush piles. We're talking 30 feet high, 40 feet long that were just lit on fire.
Wow.
Man,
Wow.
I can believe it. Talk about carving something out of dense forest land like a drive-in. Man, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah. They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in this thing, and I'm definitely reaping the benefits of that.
That's beautiful.
Well, you are, but I like what you're adding to it. I like all the things that
Thank
you're
you,
adding
Jeff.
to it, the menu and the different ways you're using your box office and your concession stand, having outdoor. You're really putting a lot of initiative into it. I think a lot of things that are different that you don't find at every drive-in, that you don't find at our drive-in. I'm being honest, so it's. I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate that, and kind of a segue on what that's saying is that our next big investment is that we'll be turning Stardust into a campground. So it'll end up being a resort.
I was wondering about all the extra acreage, what you were planning to do with that.
We're going to try to turn it into a campground. I'm working with the county right now on a proposal to get the zoning changed so that I'm allowed to build it into a campground. So I'm hoping to have that completed probably by the end of this season here, and then start looking at investors that want to help me build a campground here. Because like I said before, we go a town of 2,500 to 55,000 in a matter of a few weeks come Memorial Day weekend, and it just stays that way until Labor Day weekend. And we have campgrounds that don't have spots and they turn people away. So we definitely have a need for another campground here. And who wouldn't want a campground at a movie theater?
Yeah, we offer overnights for folks to sleep off the long nights, and it's one of the biggest appeals that we have. Because
how does that work for you guys?
So
do you leave the bathrooms open, or?
Yeah, we keep the bathrooms open. We're not considered a campsite because we don't have RV hookups. We don't have, set spots. We don't allow open flame, all that stuff, no grilling. Okay. So it really is kind of like a safety protocol for folks because we realized really early that most of our fans were not local. They're coming in, from out of town, Philly, Jersey, New York, and that travel back 2 hours ride home when the movie's ending at 2 a.m. is it's a real toss-up. So it became a big draw for us, and I think really allows folks to make the trek instead of having to put up in a hotel or whatever the case might be.
Have you had any downsides to allowing overnight camping that if I do that at my lot, I'd be aware of?
Nah, I'd say we've never had a bad incident, knock on wood, with the overnights. The only downside is that, you have to have somebody there all the time. I don't look at that as a downside because I have a trailer on the lot and I'm there anyway, but you are going from that, 2:00, I can turn my brain off, to, hey, I got to do the walk, make sure everybody's okay, kind of let them know that there is somebody there if they need anything. And I mean, it's become very routine, I think, and people have gotten used to it. But I think for you, like you're practically a little resort in your own there. So having that and people being able to, take in the whole space. The only issue we've had is we used to keep our main bathrooms open. Now we just have the porta potties outside.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. I think having the unattended bathrooms,
Yes.
you never know if somebody's going to want to scribble on the wall or whatever the case is. So
That's my concern. So pretty easy to get some porta potties.
yeah,
in
ours
there.
are year round. They just live there. So
Okay. All right.
it's a good move for sure.
And you said
I
you have a
think-
trailer on your lot. Well, I don't know if you guys took a look at the aerial view. My house is on the north end of the property. So
Stop.
I live here. My commute is a walk down the driveway.
That is my dream.
Wow. That is great.
Yeah.
That is great.
I
That's
have
the
a,
dream, man.
I have
Oh.
a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,250 square foot home up on the north end of the property.
Amazing. And that
That's
all
fantastic.
came with the biz.
Yep.
And it was literally like, okay, I'm going to make this happen. And you settled into your life here on the lot.
Yeah. And it's amazing. It's a lot of work. But I live in, I think, one of the prettiest parts of the state. And my business is my home, and I treat it as such. And I feel that I don't call my customers. I call them my guests.
Wow.
That's
Great.
beautiful.
Great.
That's beautiful. Welcoming them into your home,
Exactly. And it's my backyard.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Nick, I think you're going to do great with the campground. I really do.
Thank you, Jeff.
without a doubt. Mark, did you have anything for Nick?
Sure, I had a couple. One is I noticed that you offer, well, let's roll it back. So one of the challenges we as drive-in operators face are headlights on the screen. It used to be, you could just turn them off, or you'd engage the parking brake, turn off the key, turn it one click on, you're good. But newer cars are a little bit more difficult with that. And I see that you offer automotive curtains for the headlights. Can you explain what that is to those folks?
Yeah, so I had some custom curtains made that have magnets inside them, that have our logo on the front of them. So if you have, yeah, so if you have a car that they don't know how to disengage their daytime running lights, right? And a lot of people do, and sometimes they expect us to know every make, car, model, how to turn them off, and how to put their car into accessory mode. And we, our knowledge goes deep, but sometimes we just don't have it all. And so I purchased these curtains. We don't charge anything for them. It's more of a courtesy. We just want their ID so we get our curtains back. And they'll just go ahead and magnetize onto the front of the car. However, guess what now? New cars aren't made out of metal anymore. They're made out of aluminum and plastic.
Oh, yeah.
So we have to get a little creative in how they go up there. So we usually carry, we have painter's tape just like we have twine, right? So painter's tape is really great because it pulls off really easy. It doesn't damage anything. And sometimes we just got to put a couple of things of painter's tape on there. Sometimes we have to put 2 on the front and 2 on the back. But we carry, I think, 5 sets, and I don't think it has been one time that we've had to use all 5 sets in a night.
Yeah, there's always a handful. It's never like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you had said that, it was a big learning curve when you took over the theater. What were a couple of the biggest challenges or lessons that you learned when you took over the operation?
The secrecy of movie buying.
Yep.
I come from the insurance world where everything is very transparent and very regulated, and everything is written out. You want to know insurance companies' premiums, you can literally go to the state and say, show me why they're charging their premiums, and you can get that foot-long book of paper. And you want to go through 5,000 pages, you can go through 5,000 pages, but you'll know everything about that insurance company and how their premium is calculated. Right. Comes to movie buying, what I'm paying for my movies and what you're paying for your movies, that's all hush hush. Nobody can talk about that stuff. And to me, that just blows my mind. I'm like, what's going on here? Let's just level the playing field.
Yeah, that's their thing. Hold it close to the chest.
Yep. So yeah, that whole process, it just irks me to the NB, but as my dad says, it will be what it'll be, Nick. So it will be what it'll be, and we just kind of move forward, and we just know that's how it is. That was probably the biggest learning curve on that part. And it wasn't so much of a learning curve as it was just adapting and being okay with it.
Yeah, not much you can do besides just take it.
Yep,
Right.
exactly. The other part is just kind of learning the systems. So I didn't really know so much about the digital part. And when I took over the theater, I thought my digital system was pretty decent. Called a couple people like, yeah, that's pretty solid. They don't make it anymore, and it's going to be hard to find somebody to service it, but it's pretty solid.
Yeah.
So this season, we did a really big upgrade to our servers. So going from Dolby 200 and 220 to IMS 3000s.
Oh yeah,
It's just like
night and day.
a Ferrari,
That's
and
beautiful.
then Deluxe offers the broadband server, so I can just download and stop paying money to have Deluxe ship me hard drives.
Yeah, it's
Done.
such a pain.
Yeah.
Such a pain,
Yeah, so
That's so cool.
but just getting on board and learning about that technology and understanding how to do it and training myself to become a projectionist.
Yeah,
There you go.
it's an art form, you know.
It is
Mhm.
not as it is with film, but it still takes time.
Oh, absolutely.
Film is a totally different area. I wish you would have had a chance to enjoy that because, yeah, I mean, you're talking about digital compared to everything being mechanical and
Correct.
mechanically, derived, and it's a totally different world. But digital. Let's face it. That's if you want to keep up, that's what you have to do. For us, for retro, for classic, it's perfect and it's a draw. But not everybody can do that. You're
Yep.
right where you should be, I think.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, before we let you go, we run nothing but classic movies. You're the first run outfit. Do you ever mix those two worlds? You do some specialty screenings, bring in some classics for holiday weekends or anything like that?
I really try to, and I get so much pushback from my movie buyer because they don't want
They
to.
hate it. They hate it.
Yeah.
They hate it. And
Yep.
sometimes I just do it to make a point.
You're like, this is my driving, man.
Yeah, you're the boss. Yeah, you're the boss.
But yes, I like, when there's like a lull or there's just, we're in a rural area and we have people that are going out camping and fishing and boating. And, we have such a strong people that want to come and see movies that they saw when they were kids with
Yep.
their kids. So I really try to plan like retro nights to bring back some of those retro movies. And the issue with that is that you really have to promote a retro night so people know that it's going on.
Yeah.
For them to get that draw in, that where those first releases, they're already being marketed. They're going out on the commercials and stuff. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. You're going to appease some people. You're going to tick off the studios, and people will remember like, oh yeah, they do some retros there. So
Yeah.
I love it that you guys are doing retros all the time. That's awesome.
It's an anomaly, and
Thank
we see other theaters program the retro, and it's tough. It's an art form, and I think once you've established as a first run, that's really what your audience wants and expects, and it's a bit jarring to go to classics, but it's nice because you have multiple nights. You could toss in a nice Thursday retro screening or something like that. And the fact that you're digital too. I mean, the only downside for us is that we're shipping prints across the world, so it's
Yeah.
like even any single show, if we're doing a single screening on a Thursday, it's still a bit of an overhead just to get the materials there. But it's a really nice option. And you're right. I think people are nostalgic for movies that they're familiar with as well. It's just nice that you're leaning into it a bit and not 100% new movies all the time.
Correct. And as we start getting to our slower seasons after Labor Day weekend, that's when I usually start putting in some of those retros usually on our screen 2 or something, just to give the people that are still hanging around something to come see.
And that's a plus too.
Yeah, what are your average opening and closing dates? How far do you push it?
It's always hard in the spring because we never know when our snow is going to be gone.
Yeah.
So when I first purchased it, I was open April 1st. And
Nice.
then we weren't able to open until April 15th the following season. And this year we weren't able to open up until May because we had so much snow.
Wow.
And then in October, it can be a crapshoot because we could have a September snowfall. And once that snow falls, people stop thinking about the drive-in anymore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You might as well
Yeah.
just shut down. But then we can also have a late summer where we'll have a snowfall in early October, but then come November, it's 70 degrees. So
Wow.
I'm leaning towards of just having my opening dates going to be the first week in May, based upon weather, of course, and if the snow is gone, and usually it is, and then probably the first week in October. And that allows me to shut down right before my birthday, so I can have a celebration.
There it is.
How about that?
That's a good, that's a good run.
We're very close to that. We opened the last weekend in April, and we closed the last weekend in October. So it's exactly 6 months open and 6 months closed.
Okay.
Yep. It's nice, we know some theaters that are working full time year round, depending on where they're at. I don't know about you, but Jeff is a big preacher on needing that break. I think it really allows people to miss the experience and build up this anticipation to come back, where I can't imagine it being every day. It would really start to feel like a grind.
Yeah, I mean, I know that I couldn't handle it, but I think Jeff is definitely has a point on that part, that because once it starts getting warming up, my social media starts popping off, and they're like, "When are you opening? When are you opening? When you're opening?" And I do a really good job of keeping my social media very quiet until that point, because you always get those things from Facebook saying, "You haven't posted in a while. You should post something." I'm like, no, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. You got to have that sweet spot. And then once you post it and you boost it out, it just goes to so many people. And it's like the radio commercials start going, like, Stardust is going to be opening. And everybody starts talking about it. They're like, summer's here. Stardust is opening.
That's awesome. It's viral, it's on people's minds. It's clear it's a mainstay, and people have taken you into their hearts, which that's the most important thing, the fact that you have a support group and a fan base that supports you. It's not like you're fighting for biz every night. So we feel really, really blessed to be able to have this conversation with you, and even luckier to have you representing for the culture. You're doing such a great job, my friend.
Well, I'm so thankful that Mark reached out to me to do this podcast, because it's just nice meeting other like-minded people that have more knowledge than I do. And so I really appreciate all of you.
Hey, anything you need, not be afraid to reach out. This is, like I said, it's the community. We're trying to connect each other, and anything we can do. And same, I may very well reach out to you and see what's your mode with boosting all these these ads.
Absolutely. I'm pretty good at demographics. I know exactly who's going to come to my drive-in. So
the way to play. All right, my friend. Well, be well. And on that note, Jeff, take it away, my friend.
Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for coming out tonight to the Mahoning Drive-In Theater. We hope you'll come back and see us again real soon. The exit is on the right-hand side of the screen at the front of the field, and most importantly, have a very safe trip home. Good night, and God bless you.